Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today my special guest is Raquel Borras. Raquel is the CEO, Chief Excitement Officer, and founder of True to You Branding. So basically, she's a personal branding and social media coach, right, Raquel?
Yes. Cheerleader. I almost feel like it's more of a cheerleader.
A cheerleader. Okay. She's there cheering you on in the corner. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming in. I really appreciate it for coming on.
Thank you. I thank you for having me. It's kind of cool that we're actually local.
Yes.
That's the reason why I'm on here.
Local in the DMV.
Yes.
So before we get started, and I like to sort of start off with your origin, your beginnings. Are you from around this area, or where are you from?
I'm a Cali girl.
California.
I'm from San Diego. My mom is Mexican. Her entire family still lives in Mexico, so Spanish was technically my first language. So I'm fluent in Spanish. And my dad is from the Bronx, Jewish, Russian Romanian descent. So I have a good mix of the two. Because people are like, "You're Latina?" Because I have the light eyes and the nose, the schnoz. But yep. So yeah, San Diego, grew up, born and raised, went to UCLA for school, for college, and then moved back to San Diego. Had met my ex-husband through my best friend in college. So that's how I ended up out here, because we were doing the whole long distance relationship thing for a while. And then I thought, you know what, I'll come out here, because he had gotten a really good job. And I thought, okay, I'll come out here with the idea of going back. So I had a 3-year plan.
Okay.
Now, 21 years later, I'm divorced with 2 teenagers, a 19 and 16-year-olds. So, I love the quote, "You want to make God laugh, tell him your plans."
Yes, that's true.
Apparently, he just pretty much laughed in my face when I had the 3-year plan. And yeah. So, but I don't regret anything. Everything happens for a reason, so it's all good.
Yeah. So Raquel, so you grew up your whole childhood. You were born, raised in San Diego?
Yep. I
Okay.
had it really good. It's funny because you don't realize how good you have it until you're in Northern Virginia with the seasons, the winters, the humidity. And now when I go back home, because my family's still there, so I still go and
Okay.
visit, I'm like, wow, I really grew up in the perfect city. And it's funny how many people are like, "You grew up in San Diego, you're lucky." I'm like, yeah, but at the time I didn't realize. I thought everybody had 75-degree weather all year round and it's sunny. And I thought palm trees were everywhere. I was super naive, very sheltered, where that's how I thought everybody kind of grew up.
Yeah. So, but your mom is from Mexico and your dad is
Uh-huh.
from the Bronx, right?
Yes.
Would you ever travel back to Mexico to visit family? You said you still have a lot of family in your mother's
Yeah, I
side,
still do.
right? Okay.
So I was just there. The last time I was actually there was 3 years ago, right after the earthquake in Mexico City, because my mom has a twin sister and a brother that live in the city. I have a lot of cousins there. And so I actually flew there right after, maybe 2 weeks after the earthquake, 2-3 weeks, and I went and volunteered. The flights were super cheap because obviously no one wanted to fly into Mexico City. So that was the last time I was there. But my mom was living there for a good 4 years, just up until 2 years ago. So I went and visited her twice while she was living in a small town south of Mexico City called Tepoztlan, which is beautiful and it's magical. When I say magical, it's literally it's magical. And I took my daughter there at the time. She was 9, so that was her first trip to Mexico, was to visit her grandma in Tepoztlan, and she loved it because with the market and just the food, and the one thing that she was super kind of whoa, is all the stray dogs.
Oh
She
yeah.
didn't understand, and I kind of had to explain to her actually these dogs are living much better than they are anywhere else. You might feel sorry for them, but at least they're not in a cage. At least they're kind of roaming the streets doing their own thing, as opposed to in the States, most are in shelters and,
It's funny. You just reminded me. I have three little boys, and I'm from Nicaragua. And when I took them to Nicaragua, same thing. There are all these stray dogs, and they're like, "Papa, what's going on here?" And they're like, "No, it's normal, and
Yeah.
it's just part of being there." Yes.
Yeah. But she thought it was the worst thing ever. I'm like, no, actually, it's not the worst thing ever.
And would you go to the Bronx too, or no, or New York?
You know what?
Okay.
Unfortunately, I never met my grandparents. They passed away before I was born, and my dad doesn't have very much family on his side. So I really don't know. My dad has had a sister. She unfortunately passed away last year, and she didn't have any children. So I don't have any cousins. So when I tell people that I relate more to the Mexican culture and my family is Mexican, it's because
Sure.
there's nobody on my dad's side. So I
Okay.
think I've been to the Bronx maybe years ago. I had a great aunt at the time who was in her 90s and we went to visit her, but that was over a decade ago. So yeah, I don't really, and my dad, let me tell you, when he left New York, he
That was
just
it. He
was,
was done.
that was it. You know what I mean? Like he never had an accent. There's some people that kind of leave their hometowns and they just don't look back.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I cannot wait to move back to San Diego.
You miss it. So you're basically, recall, you're half Latina and half Jewish, right?
Yeah. I mean, I went
Okay.
to a Jewish private school, so I really learned and studied Judaism. And at the time I could read and write Hebrew. And
Oh,
so
do you
yeah,
still or no?
no, I mean, my Jewish name is Raquel and I can write
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
But as far as being able to read it and write, I can't, not anymore. At the time I could, yeah.
You know what's funny? I have three boys, and that's how my wife sold me on the third one. Is what if the third one is a girl? You know,
Right.
to get some attention in the house for me. And our top name was Raquel. It's sort of similar. So my wife's Jewish,
Okay.
and I'm Latino, so I'm not. We're raised Roman Catholic,
Yes.
and so my boy's similar. You know, they're half Jewish and half Latino. And Raquel was one of our top two or three names if we had a girl.
Yeah, it worked out because my mom wanted something that translated well over into Spanish English. My dad, I think, wanted something also that was kind of part of his heritage. So Raquel was just kind of perfect. And at the time, I was born in the 70s, Raquel Welch, she was the it girl. I mean, everyone knew who she was. And oddly enough, she's from San Diego too. And she's also Latina. And so it's just kind of funny. But people assumed I was named after her, but I wasn't. It just happened to be that she was the jam at the time.
How were you growing up as a child? Were you into certain things or activities in sports or
So I did the kind of the basic, like the jazz dance and the ballet and all of that. And I
cheerleading?
like I was a cheerleader one year, my senior year. And it's funny because I played varsity tennis my freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And I remember my senior year, a couple of my girlfriends were like, let's do cheerleading our senior year. Like, let's do something different. And I went to a really small private school. So pretty much anybody made the squad. Okay, just to give you an idea of like how small we were, we had 8-man football at the time. So we didn't even have games on a Friday night at night. There were no Friday night lights. Like our games were
Oh,
right after school on a Tuesday against the other private schools in the area. So being a cheerleader, when I tell people, I was like, it really was. I mean, granted, our cheer coaches were San Diego State cheerleaders, and one of them ended up being a Charger girl for the Chargers for years. So we had like legit cheer coaches, probably because we could pay them well, being that we were a private school, but we didn't. It was kind of dumb that we had such professional cheer coaches because yeah. I mean, I like to dance and I'm a pretty good dancer, but we were not that good.
that's good though. So at UCLA, what did you study?
Art history. I was an art history major.
That's interesting. Why that?
Because I come from a family of artists.
Oh,
Like
really?
my mom's an artist. My great aunt is an artist. My uncle's an artist. There's a whole bunch of artists. This is my artwork back here.
I was going to ask you that and ask, is that you or?
Yeah,
Okay.
so these are my pieces. So I grew up in a family where my parents always loved going to art museums. They collected a lot of Latin American art, and I just loved it. And
That's
so I
awesome.
thought, well, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. I don't really know what I want to study. I might as well study something that I enjoy. So that's why I picked art history, because I thought, well, if I'm going to be a major, at least have it be something that I'm going to, love actually studying. And so I did really well with it. I was blessed enough when I graduated from high school to be able to go to Italy and Paris. And I actually took AP art history my senior year in high school. So I had studied, all these famous paintings, and then I get to go to the Louvre and, Venice and Florence and Rome and get to see the actual artwork that I studied. So that was pretty cool. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, that was a crazy experience because most people don't get those experiences. And the fact that I did, it was great. So going into college, I already felt like pretty well versed, if you will.
Yeah.
But we had to study all kinds of cultures. It wasn't just the popular art. I mean, you're studying African art, Indian art, Asian art, all of it, like all around the globe.
So you graduate from art history, but you said that's where you met your ex-husband.
So I didn't actually graduate from UCLA, and that's something that I'm very kind of vocal about now, where before, I mean, I never lied about it. Like any job that I've ever had or anywhere, I never lie and say, oh, I graduated, but I never really explained why I didn't graduate. And now I explain why. And I had a lot of shame behind it. It was because I actually attempted suicide. My third year there, third or fourth, it's such a blur, but yeah, I was in a very deep depression. And I talk about it now because I know how important it is to talk about mental health and to change the narrative and not have it be such a stigma where it was for so many years. That was something I never wanted people to know about me. And now I tell everybody because we're in a place right now where too many people are thinking that you got to be perfect. You got to, with social media, everyone puts up a front, and it's really important for me to be like, hey folks, like just because I look smiley and happy all the time and I seem to have it all put, together, that's not the case. I have my struggles too. And so I've learned to turn those struggles into strengths now. So now I'm a huge mental health advocate.
That's great. If you don't mind me asking, what happened back then in college that made you decide to do that?
So it had nothing to do with college.
It happened when you were in college, right?
Yes, but my depression led from childhood.
Okay.
Just my family dynamic. I was a perfectionist. I was very OCD. I was the perfect child, if you will. Like there was a lot of pressure. I pretty much parented myself. There was a lot of pressure on me to be everything to everyone and to be perfect. And that's impossible. So
are you the oldest? Do you have any siblings? Okay.
I do have a brother and a sister, a brother that's 5 years younger than me and a sister that is 14 years younger. And my brother was a very troubled kid, like in the sense that he gave my parents a really, really hard time, but he himself was struggling internally. He's gay. So just having that was a lot for him. So I think he lashed out a lot at us, at my parents. He was bullied. There was a lot going on internally, and unfortunately it was a lot. And so I even more so was like, well, shoot, I gotta even be more perfect because I don't want to give my parents any problems. And then my sister came along when I was 14, so then I kind of took on like a mom role with her. So I grew up pretty quickly. And and just being at UCLA, being in LA as a teenager is not the best, because you're in the entertainment world. Everyone's gorgeous. Everyone's like has an eating disorder pretty much. It's not healthy. So if you're someone that already is dealing with like a lot of insecurity and trying to be perfect, and that's what you're surrounded by, it doesn't help. So it just kind of, I don't know, just came to a point where I just fell into this really dark place. And at that point I was just like, I don't want to live like this anymore. What's the point? And it's hard to explain being in such a dark place, because a lot of people who have never been there or don't even comprehend how, like my mom still doesn't get it. Like she's of the mindset of like, well, just be happy. It's like sometimes it doesn't work that way, right? So unfortunately for me, it didn't work that way where I could just kind of snap out of it, if you will. So, so then I took a medical leave and I went to therapy twice a week, and I really had to work on a lot of stuff. And so I'm kind of at 45 years old now talking about it. Like I never thought that this would be something that I would feel very strongly about and feel like I need to help others.
No, that's great that you finally opened up. You said it just started a few years ago. You finally felt comfortable talking about it.
I actually came out,
if
you will, on LinkedIn last year during Mental Health Awareness Month.
Oh.
I don't know. Do you know the company, mortgage company, Equity Prime Mortgage?
I've heard of them, yes.
Okay, so Eddie Perez is the president, and he's a friend of mine. And we had been talking at one of the conferences about mental health, and he had family members kind of suffering from it. And I kind of opened up a little bit, and he's like, yeah, we need to start talking about it. And he was already an advocate, and he had done a video during Mental Health Awareness Month, which was March. I think it's March. Oh gosh, I should know. And he did a video of like, hey, we as leaders need to break the stigma. We need to change the narrative. We need to talk about it. We need to share our stories. And I thought in that moment, I got to share my story because I have a platform. I have a following. I have people that, actually listen to what I have to say. And I have a lot of people that think that I'm, have this kind of perfect persona, if you will. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to shock some people. And boy, did I shock people, but not in a bad way. I thought I was going to get a lot of negative kind of feedback, being that I spoke about it on LinkedIn, first of all. And then second of all, a lot of people are very opinionated when it comes to suicide. A lot of people, oh, it's a cop out. It's an easy way out. That's very selfish. But nobody said anything negative. If it was the complete opposite. Everybody was like, thank you for being so brave. Thank you for having the courage to speak up, because I myself have dealt with it. Or I have a child that, like, I've had so many people reach out to me, like I have a teenager that's going through it. And so I was able to kind of also tell them as a perspective, as someone, as a teenager, be like, hey, as a parent, maybe you should kind of do this or do that, because my parents didn't do this and it affected me, and so forth. And I just got amazing feedback. So it just kind of fueled the fire. And I was
I'm glad you're mentioning this as far as teenager. Anything you think any parent should be looking out for children as far as signs? Is there anything like that?
There's the pretty obvious signs of, withdrawing and being antisocial if they were social, sleeping a lot, maybe not eating, maybe getting angry, maybe, there's like those mood swings, right? Obviously teenagers have mood swings anyway, but if it's pretty consistent, there might be something going on. I think the biggest thing for me is telling parents, listen to your children, like just be an ear for them. Because I think that's the problem, is too many children don't want to tell their parents anything, or they don't want to talk to them, or they don't want to talk to anybody because they think that nobody's going to listen to what they have to say. And I think as parents, we're very quick to want to fix things and very quick to like, oh, well, this is what it is, or this is what you should do. And I think that we need to step back and just be like, hey, I'm here to listen, and I'm not going to judge you, and I'm not going to like say anything if you don't want me to say anything, but I'm here to listen. Because I think what happens is, I don't know if you get this, but I do. Once I'm able to talk about something, I do feel so much better when I know someone actually just listened to what I had to say. And just knowing that helps a lot. And I think that's a big problem, is that with social media, our kids are on their phones all the time, and they're so consumed in all this other stuff that when it comes to talking to their parents, there's like a disconnect already to begin with. So that makes it more difficult. So it is tough. It's definitely not something that you would like right away think, okay, my child's depressed, we're going to fix it. Like, it takes time, and sometimes there isn't, like a solution.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
As a parent, I guess, I can just remember going back to teenage years, but like you said, especially now you have all this social media and they're just glued to a screen and want to be left alone. So it's even hard, you asking your child, hey, how's everything going? How do you feel? But I guess just keep on probing then and just continue to ask.
We're not even probing, but they will know if you're, it's interesting because, like, for instance, my daughter, I don't really ever ask her, how are you? But she comes to me and talks very openly about how she's feeling. But it's because she knows that I've been through that experience. And so I know what it's like. So she on her own has been like, hey, Mom, can I talk to you? Hey, Mom, can I tell you something? But it's because she knows I'm going to sit there and listen, and I'm not going to judge her in any way. And that's all she really needs.
Sure.
And so I love that, because I've actually asked her at times, like, oh, do you want to see somebody? Do you think you need to see a counselor or a therapist? She's like, why, if I can talk to you? And I was like, oh my gosh, like, my child actually wants to talk to me. But it's because I think I just I made her feel safe. I gave her permission to speak. And I think that's the thing, is giving that environment, that space, so to give that other person permission to actually talk about how they feel. My son does the same thing. I don't really pry, or really, he's a sophomore in college. I don't really ask much, but he on his own will kind of be like the other night we were talking and he was a little rude, but he's 19 and he can be. And I didn't say anything and I didn't get mad at him. Like, how dare you kind of like, you know, and at the end of the conversation, he goes, you know, Mom, I apologize if I'm sounding rude or if I'm being kind of mean to you. He's like, but I've just had a really rough day and I'm really bummed out. And I was like, oh, well, what happened? And then he shared with me what happened. But see, like, I'm just really lucky in that respect that they feel that they can open up to me. So parents, just try to like give them that space.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah, but that's also why I'm very open. I think a lot of parents feel like they can't tell their kids that they did drugs or that they got in trouble or that they were like a rebel. It's like they almost have to be like this perfect person for their child. And I don't believe in that, because all you're doing is perpetuating perfection. And let me tell you, look at where it got me. You know, I ended up trying to take my life because I realized like I couldn't be perfect. And that pressure was a lot. And right now the pressure to be perfect is even, you know, stronger with social media, with filters, with, you know, you get to choose what you want to put out there. Instagram, you don't have to put up an ugly picture of yourself. You know, you choose. And so that's what's happening. And that's a lot of reason why with my business and my personal brand, why I called it True to You, is because I really want people to be true to who they are and actually have that be presented on social media. So, you know, right now, yes, I've got makeup on. I did my hair. I mean, obviously out of respect, I wanted to look nice and presentable, but there are plenty of times. I just did a video yesterday, hadn't showered, baseball cap, no makeup on. And that's okay, because it shouldn't matter what I look like. It should matter what I have to say. And so I try to do that with my social media. I try to do pictures that are not filtered. Sometimes they're pictures of me that are super unflattering, or, you know, I'm making fun of myself, but it's because I don't want people to have to take themselves so seriously either. So that's kind of like how I do my branding is try to, that's why I say I'm a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Almost, because when someone comes to me, usually they're really insecure and they don't have that confidence to get on social media and get in front of the camera. So it's me encouraging them like, no, you're amazing, you know, already. And don't worry about having the video be perfect. And don't worry about what people say. Like, yeah, it's just getting them kind of motivated and inspired to do it, as opposed to like, you got to do it this way.
When you moved to
Sorry,
Northern Virginia,
I'm dog sitting.
It's okay. When you moved to Northern Virginia from San Diego, did you immediately go into sort of the personal branding social media world, or what led you?
I got married, was a stay-at-home mom for 9 years, then got divorced, was a yoga instructor and cycle instructor. I was a hostess, then I worked for a guy in his home, and then I was a receptionist with a builder, and then I was customer service director for the builder. Then I moved over to the mortgage side, and I did customers the client relations manager, and then I was the multicultural business development manager. I didn't do not even personal branding the last year.
So what made you obviously had a multifaceted career. So what led you to where you are now doing this? How did that come about?
It was just being on social media because of my job and realizing
with the mortgage company. Is that no?
Well, I got on LinkedIn, for instance. The first time I got on LinkedIn, I was working for the builder, and I didn't do much on LinkedIn when I was with the builder because I was the director of customer service, or there really wasn't much.
Sure.
I instead was actually studying the platform. I was that person that was like going through every day on my feed and seeing, okay, why is this person popular on here, or what are people liking on here? And so, yeah, I just kind of followed certain people. I had like mentors on there, for instance, and just started really paying attention. So by the time I was in the mortgage industry and needed to do the whole multicultural business development and was involved with NAREP and so forth, that's when I started posting more. Then I started promoting the events that I would go to, the people that I would work with or that I would meet. Like, I just naturally like to talk about other people. And that's just, I naturally started getting a following. And by the time I was at my third mortgage company with my bosses, they were like, all right, we're brand new. Like, we have our own division now. I want you to be our brand manager. Like, you already have a presence, you already have a following, you're really good on social media, you're really good at just like on video posting, you're creative. we want you to get our brand out there. And that's how personal branding came about, because I didn't know what personal branding was 2 years ago.
Okay, so this started 2 years ago as far as you actively trying to become or do the personal branding.
Maybe 2 years ago. I mean, like I said, I was doing it because it's like, oh, well, I need to be on social media.
Okay.
But the term personal branding is fairly new. You know, branding's been around, but people talking about personal branding, I feel like that's just like less than 5 years old at this point.
It is.
You think?
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I really do believe that it's still something that people are like, I need that, or what is that, or what does that mean? You know, people are still confused by what it is.
So that's good you mentioned that. I do come across that a lot. It's like, what's the purpose? Why waste my time in LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok now, you name it? What do you say to those people who say, what's the point of that? I don't want to waste my time. I'll just continue to conduct business the way I've been conducting for the past 30 or so years, whatever it may be. Because
it's called having to adapt and evolve with the times. You know, it's social media is not going anywhere, and it's only becoming more and more popular, and more and more people are on social media. And let me tell you, COVID sped that up tremendously.
Big time.
Big time. So people who already were like, now it's like, okay, if you didn't jump on the social media bandwagon during this time, you're going to be left behind, because you're going to have to play catch up, because it's not easy. It's a lot of energy goes into being consistent, into your content, all of that. And, you know, if you're not already starting to do that, you're going to miss out on a lot of business, first of all, and you're going to miss out on people seeing what you have to offer. Like, that's how I see it now. I see it as, I want to make an impact. I want to help parents, teenagers. I want to talk about mental health. And the only way to do that is for people to know who I am, so that I have someone like you reach out to me and be like, hey, will you be in my podcast? It's because of my visibility on social media. What else would it have been? No one, you know what I mean? Like, so these are ways for you to just be visible. And it doesn't mean visible in the sense of like, it all is about you. And because a lot of people are like, oh gosh, like, I just don't want to come across as someone that, you know, is like, look at me. And it's like, that part you don't have to worry about. The whole look at me thing. It's more about like adding value. Like, if you're out there actually educating and inspiring and adding value, then yeah, you should be out there. If you're doing something good, then it's only fair that you share that with everyone. That should be spread. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree. And I think you've done a fantastic job, Raquel, with basically being omnipresent, being everywhere. And that's how I came across you. And in my opinion, I believe everyone needs to be omnipresent. It doesn't matter whatever it is you do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not many people feel that way.
It's tough. It really is, because it's all very psychological, and we're our own worst enemies. We get in our heads so much. And even I myself am guilty of that. I mean, I had a conversation with a colleague of mine yesterday, a female colleague, and we were talking about the algorithms of LinkedIn, because the algorithms on LinkedIn have changed a lot. Everyone's noticed a difference, and their engagement and their visibility have dropped tremendously. And we think it might have a lot to do with LinkedIn stories, but either way, she and I were talking about how it really does kind of affect you, where you're thinking, oh gosh, all my engagement dropped significantly. What does that mean? Does that mean like nobody's liking my content anymore? Does it mean that what I have to say isn't of value? And you really start getting in your head. And luckily I'm in a place now where I just remind myself, like, Raquel, it's not about vanity metrics. Like, that's what you preach. And remember, I always talk about it, as long as you can touch one person, affect them in a positive way, then who cares if, you know, you're not getting the amount of visibility that you think that you should be getting. But I mean, it just goes to show you that I myself was starting to be like, what's going on here? And I have to talk myself down. So everyone goes through it. It's a process.
I have heard that LinkedIn was different before. I was on LinkedIn many years ago, but I wasn't really active until March, April, COVID. Once COVID hit,
people jumped over on LinkedIn.
The light just switched on, and just consistently, just like you said, every day now. And frankly, my following, it's probably 5x in just 6-7 months, my connections. Yeah. And it's huge. And obviously it's unfortunately we're all in COVID, but I think there's a silver lining. I'm always the type of person, like, I see that the glass half full, not half empty. And
That's how I am
yes.
too. Like, I feel actually, granted, obviously there was a lot of negative, but I feel, for instance, with my business and just my brand, if you will, it's helped. And when I say it's helped, I don't mean like I've been getting so much business, because I haven't. Like, I'm very transparent about that too. Yes, I'm everywhere, if you will. I'm on podcasts every week. I speak on webinars, but I don't get paid for that. I'm not getting paid to be on your podcast. I'm not getting paid to speak at a VCU event next week. But it's important for me to be able to have my message come across, so I do it. But as far as like actual financially, it sucks right now, but it's okay. Like, I'm one of those people where I know that I'm doing good, and at some point it will come around, and it's okay. But it just really changed my message, and it changed the way I view social media, but all for the better. I feel like I became even more self-aware of what I was doing. And for me, I feel like so many more people have been able to hear what I have to say because of COVID. Like, I've been speaking to people all around the world, and I feel like it wouldn't have happened before. I don't think I would have been in the place that I was if there weren't this, pandemic, which, once again, it's like, I don't want to act like it's no big deal, but like you said, there's nothing wrong with us at looking at the positive and looking at the glass half full.
Yes.
It doesn't make us horrible people either. It just, mentally, it's better than to think the opposite, I believe.
I agree. And I'm glad you mentioned that, as far as, people always say, well, what's the ROI? When you're posting in all these social media platforms?
And that is a tough one, because I will tell you this, being in the mortgage industry, that was really hard to justify a lot of what I did because the ROI. But I started my business because of my visibility. I'm going to be hosting a podcast soon. I'm going to be on an app, a social media app that just went live. Like, you could go to the App Store and download this app, and I'm on the cover. Like, how cool
really?
is that?
That is cool. Well, what's this app?
So I'm hoping on Monday to actually be able to have everything like live in the sense that people can start signing up to for me to be their coach. Okay. So it's really cool, but I wouldn't have been given that opportunity if I didn't have the visibility. And
so is this your app, Raquel, or is this?
So it's a colleague of mine who was in the mortgage industry, had been following me on LinkedIn for years, saw kind of what I did. And so he reached out to me, was like, hey, I just created this app, and I want 5 or 6 coaches on there, and you're one of the coaches that I want, and this is the deal. And it was literally like heaven sent for me, because the concept is amazing. Because I feel like part of my brand is I'm really good at talking about different things every day. Like, I always have something to say, and I feel like it can be creative, or it's thinking outside of the box. And unfortunately, especially, in the real estate industry and mortgage industry, I feel like a lot of loan officers and real estate agents, they can't see past the open house, the flyer, talking about the products, talking about the loans. It's like they don't understand that that's not what people really want to hear and want to see. They want to see your personality, because we're getting at a place right now where nobody cares about the product. They care about the person selling the product. They want to be able to like, know, and trust that person. And the only way to do that is to be putting yourself out there in that way. And so this app is going to be like content prompts. So what'll happen is Monday through Friday, I will be prompting you. Like, I'm uploading a bunch of content where on a Monday, it'll be like, hey, today, this is what you're going to post. You coach them and tell them what to post. Yeah. So not only am I telling them what to post, but they have a dashboard. And if you have Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, you have them all on your dashboard. I prompt you on what to post. You can upload a video from your phone and decide what platforms you want it to go to. And then not only that, it's going to give you real-time engagement, and you have your website linked to that account. So then you're going to also see what kind of traffic is being driven to your website from your social media. Oh. So it's really cool, because I think a lot of people just want to be told, like, just give me an idea, please. Like, I just don't want to think about it. I don't have time. And so this is like the perfect way for people to just get on there and be like, oh, okay, I didn't think about that. Or, oh, wow, that's a great idea. I mean, I'm excited about it. I think it's an amazing idea. I think it's brilliant. And feel super blessed to be a part of it and to be one of the OGs,
Yes.
the original coaches. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully on Monday, I'll have my bleep together and I can make a post and be like, all right, get on there. Cause it's live. You can download it now from the App Store.
Okay.
It's just, you can't sign up to my plan yet because I haven't finished uploading all my content. It's a lot of work.
Sure. And this is specifically for mortgage professionals?
Well, he had mortgage and real estate professionals in mind because you guys are all kind of low-hanging fruit. I'm going to be honest. Like you guys are all making pretty good money right now. You guys are all really busy, but you just need help with your social media and you need help with your visibility and just ways to get out there and stand out because this is where the future is going.
I agree. Let me ask you this, Raquel. Regardless of industry, whether you're real estate, mortgage, banker, doctor, it doesn't matter. If people say, like you said, I don't know what to post. What are a few suggestions or ideas you can tell people just to think about as far as what content or what material they can post on social media?
For instance, I'll tell you what I posted yesterday.
Okay.
I'm dog sitting a dog. Just to give you an idea where like there's things that you can do that add value. So I'm dog sitting a dog that's actually a therapy dog in training.
Oh.
So I did a video where I was basically saying that this dog has been like a therapist for me and how he's gotten me, up early in the morning, walking 3 times a day, which is really good for my psyche. He's been a companion. And so it was me also promoting like, hey, we need to really support organizations and people that are training these therapy dogs because last month was Suicide Awareness Month, and a lot of veterans come back from serving and they suffer from PTSD and they rely on these dogs. And so I was sharing something personal about myself, but at the same time adding value by saying, hey, let's go ahead and support organizations. Let's go ahead and do something good, right?
Yes.
And that was my post from yesterday, but then my post today, I get a Google alerts on certain keywords, and there was a great article about personal branding. So my post today was sharing that article. Was like, hey, this article is worth a read. I preach everything they say in this article. So there's a good balance because yesterday was more personal than today was business. Okay. And I kind of try to go back and forth. But see how it wasn't, like yesterday wasn't scripted, no makeup, baseball cap. I had the dog in the video and I'm like petting him. He sneezed. I was on the floor and people love that. They love to see that I'm just kind of like in my element, I'm not in a studio. I don't have the ring light set up. Shoot, I don't even own a ring light, to be honest. This is what I have, just to give you an idea. I have just a little desk lamp.
Oh,
and I just
that's a bright light.
On my computer. But see, like you gotta, you don't need all the bells and whistles, folks, in order to make something look good. I mean, if you read a book recently, talk about something you took away from the book. A movie, we all freaking watch Netflix all day long. And this, I'm sure there's some Netflix show that you saw that you were like, wow, I really learned this, like something about myself, or I learned whatever, and then share it.
So basically just anything with the everyday life or whatever it is you're doing with your business. Stories,
experiences, people connect with you emotionally through storytelling, through experiences. They don't connect with you by you showing a flyer or you talking about credit scores or products. Like, how does that connect with someone emotionally? What's going to connect is you sharing a story about maybe a client of yours that wasn't aware of a particular product. And because of that, they were able to whatever, and this was their story. Like, you have to connect emotionally.
I love that example about the way it's not just the credit score, just the story. It comes.
Talk about someone whose credit sucked, and you were able to get their credit score up, and maybe it took a while, but in the meantime, you became, you built a relationship or a friendship with them. So then by the time that their credit score got up and then they bought their home and they were so happy and their kids and their whatever, like that's where people are like, oh my gosh, Like they connect with that person that here, was struggling to get their credit score up, as opposed to be like, I can get your credit score up in, 6 months and then have it be that your post. I'd be like, okay, great. Thanks. Everybody can, I'm sure. But if you tell this really great story, then I'm going to be like more inclined to want to work with you, because then I'm going to feel that connection of, wow, he really cares about his clients, and look at what he did for them.
People are always saying they don't have time to do this or that, especially now with all these different social media platforms. Well, what is your recommendation as far as, should they focus on one or a few, or as far as allocating that time?
I would say at first focus with one platform. That's what I did with LinkedIn. I wasn't on Facebook. I'd gotten off of it. And so and then Instagram had just started. So Instagram was still very new. So I focused on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is still my focus, but because I've pretty much built my presence on LinkedIn and I don't have to post every day in order to have, engagement, I'm now focusing on Instagram. Because I do feel that you should be at least on 2 platforms. I mean, I'm on Facebook now, but I don't really, let's just say I don't take it too seriously for Facebook. That just, my clients aren't over there. My clients are on LinkedIn. Yeah. That's the thing too, is where are your clients? You might like Instagram because visually it's really appealing and you love taking pictures, but if your clients aren't on Instagram, then that's probably not the best place to kind of promote yourself and your business on there. If they're on Facebook, then do it over there. But yeah, I would start out with one at first, try to at least get a hold of that. And then, but I mean, now we're in a place where you can toggle back and forth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now you have LinkedIn stories. So if you have Instagram, you can go ahead, and if it's an Instagram story that could be on LinkedIn, then just pop it on over to LinkedIn. That's what I do now, instead of having to do different stories.
That's what I'm doing, just repurposing some of the material.
Yeah, repurpose some of your stuff. I'm getting better at that. I wasn't really good at repurposing, but I'm getting a little bit better, because I'm getting at a point now where it already was a lot of work, but now that, I have this kind of presence and I'm a personal branding social media person, it's like, I got to keep up with it. If that's what I'm showing you, if I'm telling you to do it and I don't do it, then there's a problem.
Yes,
but I'm not in a position to hire someone to help me. So I have to do it all on my own. So I got to keep my sanity too.
What do you think, now that you mentioned the LinkedIn stories? I think it's only a week or 2 new. It just came out. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Last Thursday. What I've noticed is, and I had another friend of mine, he called me and was like, have you noticed? I'm like, I have. It's like the same people are on our feed. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yes, I have.
I don't know what that is all about, because I'm like, well, that's not cool if I'm seeing the same people on the stories. Even when I go through the stories and then I refresh it and go back in a couple of hours later, if they did something new, it's back up there, like them. So that I don't really like. And not only that, how many people are going to scroll through stories and scroll through their feed? Like when I go on Instagram, I either scroll on one or the other. I rarely do both at the same time, because once again, I just don't have the time and energy.
That's true.
Yeah, so that's what I'm curious how it's going to affect.
It is true. I've noticed that there's only a certain number of people on your story on the top, but I also believe there's even people that I've heard in California. There are certain areas in the country that still do not have LinkedIn stories in the country here.
Yeah, because I got it rolled out on a Thursday, and I got it pretty much like right away. And someone like Chelsea Pites, who's huge on Instagram. You follow Chelsea?
Yeah,
she's amazing. So she and I have become, we have a good rapport now. She got it like a day after I did. I was like, and even Shay Rowbottom, who's like queen on LinkedIn, she got it after I did. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I don't know if they had any kind of rhyme or reason to it, but.
I think they're just gradually rolling it out, because I got it just like you. I think it was a Thursday, but maybe we're in the same area here. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they did it by area. It was interesting, but you know what? If they got rid of it tomorrow, I wouldn't be sad. Let's just say that. I'm not LinkedIn stories.
Well, yes, of course.
LinkedIn. Yeah, I don't know. There'd be a problem. And that's why it's important to kind of have.
You need to diversify.
You have to diversify, because I did a post about that last year too, where I was like, if there's no LinkedIn, do I really exist? Like I made it, I'm like, I might
Yeah.
sound dramatic. I'm like, but it is kind of dramatic in the sense for someone like me who really focused so much on LinkedIn, where if it crashed or if something happened, then am I really like who I think I am? It's like, so it's a lot. But yeah, I would suggest that just focus on one, maybe block a time out of your day to do it. I'm kind of pretty much on it all day long, just because once again, it's part of my job. But if it wasn't, I probably would block an hour in the morning, maybe to do a post, and then maybe block an hour in the late afternoon, evening to engage, because it's really important to engage. Like you can't just post and then just, think that you're going to get what you need to get out of it. You have to still engage in other people's content, because that is really part of the game, if you will, and the algorithms, and then people also wanting to reciprocate, right? Because I know that if I was liking like a particular person's post and commenting all the time, but they never did it back, I would be pissed.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'd be like, really? Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to throw me a bone here, like not even a like or a comment. And here I'm taking the time and energy to do that on yours. And yeah, so people are going to feel like they do need to return the favor.
I agree. It's a community. And it's very different. If you want to explain to the audience why liking or making a comment in LinkedIn is important compared to another platform like Twitter or Instagram or whatever it may be.
Well, I will tell you this, with LinkedIn, as opposed to Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn notifies your network or other people's networks, like if you liked or commented. So there's a first degree and second degree network. There's even third and fourth. But like my first degree network, my actual connections, my following is a little bit over 20,000. Okay. But my second degree network, which are my connections, which if one of my connections likes my post, their following gets to see it, right? So my second degree network is at 1.3 million people.
Wow.
So wrap that around your head. Like you have I particularly have the potential to reach 1.3 million people. That's a lot.
Yes.
Right?
That's
So
huge.
that's why you have to also be very aware of the fact that so many people are going to get to see your comment or what you said. So that's why I tell people your comment is sometimes even more important than your actual post, because people can also see what kind of person you are on your comments. If you're mean, if you're a troll and saying mean things, other people are going to see that.
Yeah.
But I have had people reach out to me specifically because they saw my comment on one of their connections and they really liked what I had to say.
Okay.
Like, oh, I read your comment on one of my connections. Like, I'd love to connect with you because I really like what you said, really resonated with me, or I totally agree with what you said. And so that's the difference between LinkedIn and those other platforms, is the reach is so much wider than you really think.
It is. And that's why I love LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn's my top favorite platform. And like you said, I probably myself personally dedicate maybe 80-90% of my time to that platform, to LinkedIn, and then the others to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever
Plus,
it
I
may
feel
be.
like there's more credibility on there, right? Because it is a business platform. So I feel that it gives you, it gives you this kind of sense of like, okay, if someone like myself does really well on LinkedIn, then it says something about who I am as a person. Because if I were completely unprofessional, if I were a complete a-hole and all of that, like I wouldn't be as successful as I am on LinkedIn. Like Facebook and Instagram, I feel like you can kind of be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't know what it is. It's people's like, oh, whatever, we will accept it, right? But with like LinkedIn, it's like, no, this is a serious platform. Like, let's be respectful. People are more intentional when they go on that platform. Like nobody goes on LinkedIn just to go down a rabbit hole. People go on there because they specifically are trying to, help find clients, or get business, or have even personal growth. There's a lot of motivation on there now. A lot of people are doing like inspirational quotes and trying to motivate others and inspire. And so I feel like you can go on LinkedIn for that too, because Facebook, you might get a lot of that, but you're also going to get a lot of the opposite.
Yeah.
The politics, the rants, and LinkedIn still, believe me, there are some people every now and then you'll see that, but as the majority, you're not. It's a positive platform.
What would you say, knowing what you know now, Raquel, would you do anything different?
That's a good question. I wished I was myself from the start. And that's why I tell people, just be you from the beginning. It's so much easier. It's so much less hassle. It's hard trying to be someone you think people want to see. And at the end of the day, they just want to see who you really are. And I didn't get that until maybe years later, because it was LinkedIn, for instance. I thought I had to be a particular persona, more like, everyone has this idea of what it means to be professional and business-like, and, try to do everything perfect. And as soon as I started kind of showing more of my personality and just being me, that's when it really revved up. And so I do encourage people, like, just be you from the start. Like, if you're kind of a hot mess, it's okay. Like, you can be a hot mess, because I'm kind of a hot mess.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, you got to start somewhere, but at least start somewhere that's authentic and genuine, and it'll be so much easier, because then you don't have to worry about, like, how am I coming across, if people are going to like me. If you are really truly who you are, and you're a good person, and you have a good heart, and you're leading with your heart, I don't see how you can go wrong, honestly. Yeah. Like, if you really truly are a good person and you're trying to do good, like,
I agree.
Someone criticizes you or doesn't like you, then you wouldn't want them in your network anyway, or do business with them. I don't want those type of people in my world. I got rid of quite a few people recently in the last couple of years, because they were very toxic and negative.
Oh, wow. As far as your connections?
As far as, like, close friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, but like, okay. Even connections, all of that. But I'm just saying that, like, there comes a point where I don't want the negativity, the toxicity. I don't want that. And so, like, I just put myself out there in a very positive, genuine way. And I feel like I'm attracting those type of folks too. And when I don't attract those, it's more because they're trying to use me for something. And now I know better to be like, nothing, right? Where before, I think everyone wants to be liked. It's like, not everyone's going to like you, and it's okay.
What would you say is your biggest challenge right now with your personal branding company?
You know what? I think it's like a lot of people's challenge is that social media, there is so much. Can be very overwhelming. My challenge is, like, staying consistent and doing something on it every day, because I'm in a place where I'm, like, really over myself, and really kind of over putting myself out there. But that's how you got to, you have to. I know it's unfortunate, because I know there's plenty of people that's a challenge for them. And that's pretty much my challenge, is that there are days where I'm like, ugh. So that's when I'll do, like, an article or something where it's not so personal.
Okay.
Or I'll just engage. There are days where I won't post anything, and I'll just engage in other people's content. Like, I'll try to do good by that. I'm like, okay, you know what? Today, I just really don't want it to be about myself. So I'm going to be that cheerleader, and I'm going to go on people's posts that maybe someone posted a video for the very first time. My favorite is to be like, you, like, get it. Like, good for you. You did great. Like, I just encourage them. And a lot of people, I don't even know who they are, but I see them on my feed, and they're doing something for the very first time, or they're struggling with something. So I just focus on just being a positive force on it.
So basically, it's keeping up with that consistency day in and day out, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's why so many marketers, and that's why everyone talks about consistency. Yeah. Let's be honest. Everybody has something to say about consistency, because it's a thing. We wouldn't all be talking about it if it didn't matter, but it matters.
It's true.
Unfortunately. And that's the hardest part, I think, for even people that are on it all the time.
And it depends on your business too, because, for example, I have clients, and there are all types of businesses, but for example, what comes to mind is restaurant clients, and every day they can have one or even multiple pictures of different dishes and everything, a new special that's out. but maybe people who are in the service area and not selling a product, you still have a product yourself, but then you have to think about things. What can I post about? What can I, and like,
and that's why the app, like, I love that I get to do the app, because I feel like I'm going to get to give so many ideas to people, because I want everybody to do well. Like, I don't see it as, oh, I'm giving all my secrets away, so it's going to affect me. No, not at all. Right? Like, if everybody posts about a book, I'm sure it's all going to be very different posts. Everyone reads different books, and everyone's going to take something different from the book. So it's like, knowing that someone else might have the same prompt, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't view it as competition anymore. There's almost 8 billion people in this world. Like, there's enough to go around. And not only that, like, let's be honest, just because someone follows you doesn't mean that they can't follow 2 billion other people.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'd be open to just not comparing yourself to what other people are doing, and not have that kind of like sense of like, oh gosh, someone else is doing it, so I'm screwed. I'm not going to get business out of it, or I'm not going to get the clients I need. No, you will.
Yeah. When I say the word success, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Happiness. For me, success is just being happy.
Being happy.
Yeah. Like, I don't see any monetary attachment to it whatsoever.
Okay. That's great. A lot of people say happiness. People say a person or something like that they look up to. Lastly, Raquel, what does the future look like? What does the next 5 years look like for you and your company?
So for me, let's say in 5 years, ideally, the social coach app will be doing well, where I can like manage the business on there and have clients and have it be where I'm not overextending my time and energy, because I actually do want to end up speaking in front of teenagers, parents, about suicide and depression. Like that, I would love to see myself in 5 years being a keynote speaker and helping others, and hopefully traveling.
Yes.
Traveling to schools, organizations, and just sharing my story in a way to help and make a positive impact. That's where I hope to see myself in 5 years.
That's amazing. And last thing, in your free time, what do you like to do for fun?
Oh God, that's a loaded question. Because let me tell you, I have my days where I'm like, so I'm like a hardcore binger from like on TV. So
okay. What are you into now?
Well, I just finished Ratchet.
Okay.
And I finished that in like one night, because I'm the type of person where I will watch an entire season in one evening. And so I can watch an entire series like in a weekend. Like I say, when I say hardcore, like find me on the couch and just eating like nachos or something. So I do like to do that.
Okay.
But I love music. So a lot of times you'll find me like playing music in my condo and I'm just dancing around. I love to paint.
I was going to ask you, do you still do art? Are you still?
I do.
Okay.
I actually got commissioned by a colleague of mine to do a painting, and she's she's driving in from Florida next weekend. So I got to have it ready by next weekend, because she's going to drive it back.
Okay.
It's a gift for her husband. He doesn't know, but so she saw one of my pieces and she's like, I'm going to commission you to do something. So I still paint, but people who don't paint don't realize how emotionally exhausting and draining it is. It's not just simple, just like, oh, let me just paint something. There's a lot goes into it.
A lot of energy.
Yes, a lot of emotional stuff. So I don't do it as often as I probably should.
Okay.
And then pre-COVID, I do like going out with friends and having a nice glass of wine and just talking. As you can see, I love to talk. So for me, I'm the type of person where you can just sit me like at a winery with a couple good friends and a couple glasses of wine, and I'm perfectly content, like with a nice view weather. For me, that's like perfect.
Yeah. And this is good weather. It's a little chilly right now in our area, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, but I do love like in the morning, like when I was walking the dog, like just like a sweatshirt.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, like where it's not too cold, but it's, a little chilly.
Where can people find you? Where can they connect if they want to reach out to you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find me on the Social Coach app, obviously, and that's one word, Social Coach. I don't have a website yet. I know that's awful, but once again, it's a lot of work to do all of this stuff.
Yeah. So just Raquel Borras, as far as if they want to look for you and the social
Yeah,
media. Okay.
yeah. I even on Instagram, it's like Raquel-Borras or something, but my name straight across. They can just message me through there. I mean, that's how you messaged me, was through LinkedIn, and that's how we connected. But yeah, you can find me on all those.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming, Raquel. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well.
All right. Bye. Take care.
Bye.